Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. As you can see, I am joined by two real experts. The spoofer that is the exile dub Tommy Lyons, I'm afraid, called off on us over the weekend, and we are well. Great. It's great. It's great to say that Barry Caul is here, of course, to fill his boots. We also have Jason Craddock, who's going to add a bit of a seriousness to the whole proceedings, maybe talk a bit more sense than maybe the other fella. But we'll get into that a little bit later on because we are talking about the Sporting Press Online Edition Irish Oaks. And it's safe to say we are left with a truly vintage final after two wonderful semi-finals at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. We've loads to get through, of course. The Casco Produce Stakes continued. The Callaway Pro-Am at Stud at Race of Champions was on at Tralee. Of course, there's a certain English Derby going on. And, of course, the Graders Derby was on at Limerick over the weekend. Plenty to talk about in that also. But we're going to start with Jason because, Jason, I said it's a vintage Oaks final. It's been a vintage Oaks. We saw some real quality on show at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night.
Oh, it's great. I think it's one of the classiest finals. You tend to say this every year because in the last 3 or 4 years in Ireland, the bitches have really come to the top. Probably starting with Susie Sapphire and winning the Derby and the Oaks together. And since then, you feel you're never going to see many bitches as good as that. And then every year, there's two or three emerge. And this year, it's another great final.
Yeah, surely is. And Barry, we have talked about this and why the bitches have come to the fore so much. Is it due to the fact that there's more options and they're more? I suppose there's more training going into them. Whereas back in the day, oh, I have a well-bred bitch, we'll give her 5 or 6 races and then breed her. Whereas now they're going, well, let's see how they can handle it, see what they can do in the track, and as a result, yeah, a lot of these very well-bred bitches, well, they're able to charge a lot of money for them as pups, for their first litters and whatnot.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there because look, even many years ago, I suppose bitches, if they were that well bred, as you said, they'd probably just go straight to the breeding paddocks if they're a little bit too big or things weren't going 100% when they were younger. Look, we have her there for breeding and we'll just kick on with that. But yeah, as you say, there is plenty more opportunities for them. And it really started with sort of the Susie Sapphire generation and sing along Sally, wasn't it? They were first and second. And since then, I suppose even going back as far as Kilmacdonough, really, that's when they really started to take off. And you can even see it in the English Greyhound Derby as well with Crafty Shabu. She's going so well over there. But yeah, as Jason said, we seem to say this every year about the Oaks. Look, the Rahamofo and Scooby Duchess and all those bitches in recent years. And look, this year we have a really classy final. And speaking to a couple of people there at Shelbourne on Saturday night, they sort of say, well, the right ones went through, for want of a better phrase. All the top ones went in at the top end of the market. So yeah, it's going to be a terrific final there again on Saturday night. I'm really looking forward to it. You can see just a quick scan through them when you look at their best times, and Flash Array would probably be the outsider on the night, and she's a 28.50 on her card. You know that way, all the rest of them are in around 28.20 sort of pitches. But if you had a Flash Array in your kennel doing 28.50, you'd be more than happy.
Jason, before we get into the actual form itself and the runs the other evening, Sporting Press again sponsoring the Oaks. It's no surprise that this is the competition they've latched onto. Of course, it's so important to each and every breeder in the country, to the owners, the trainers. In terms of our industry, perhaps potentially the most important competition of the year. And Sporting Press are sponsoring a long, long time at this stage.
Yeah, I think is it 31 years now?
Yeah, 30 years last year, I believe. Yeah.
And like I said, Barry says, classy bitches. Last year, one of the favourites for the English Derby this year is Crafty Shavu, the 2023 winner. Very impressive winner. But yeah, the Sporting Press tries to, be associated with good competitions. And what a competition this year to be associated with.
Yeah, let's talk about those two semi-finals. The first heat, Drewby's Mandolin. She'd suffered defeats in her previous two outings in the competition, but I suppose a measure of her brilliance and the fact that we all know how good she is and how good she continues to be. She was sent off an odds-on favourite from Trap 1. Of course, the Trap 1 draw was of vital importance to her. She did edge off. She edged off again off the second bend, but she came back in and then swung wide off the last bend. But despite probably throwing away a length or two in victory, she still clocks 28.05. She's a stunningly fast lady, but she needed to be on her toes because Droopy's Adele and Droopy's Fidget are just behind her. Three absolute superstars, and even going back to Epic Chicken fourth, who would have been a very, very worthy finalist as well. It was just an unbelievable contest.
Yeah, I thought when Droopy's Mandolin broke as well as she did going into the first bend, I said it's going to be a hell of a run. Look, it was a hell of a run, but I thought she'd maybe win by 3 or 4 lengths. We've seen what she done to Ratdown Molly, who's a real star of the track, and the Night of Stars, wasn't it, last year, the Winter Racing Festival, when she came from maybe 4 or 5 lengths off Ratdown Molly and went on to win by a couple of lengths. So when I seen her lead into the back straight, I said, this is going to be a huge run. Now, look, it was a huge run, but the credit has to go to the bitches in second and third place to keep so close to her. Down the back straight, I even thought Epic Chick was a certainty to qualify. But look, leaving the winner aside for a moment, it shows the effort that the runner-up on the third bitch put in to get so close to her. Like, Druppy Adele is beating a length and a half, and Druppy's Fidget is only another head back in third place. But yeah, it was a stunning semi-final. It really was. And yeah, as you say, she done almost everything right. Okay, she did swing off noticeably off the last bench. She did swing off quite wide, but it just goes to show you she hasn't got much room for error in the final. With the other two going to be hot on her heels like that, and she will need another flying break. But look, it was a huge performance. 28:05. The track hasn't been on fire in there this year, and I don't know the facts, but I don't think there's too many have gone quicker than 28:05. I dare say it's probably the quickest time of the year in there. And look, if it is the quickest time of the year doing 28:05, you'd be expecting something to win by maybe 5 or 6 lengths. And the fact that she's only won by a length and a half, it just shows you how strong that semi-final was and how strong the final's going to be. But yeah, huge run. She promised to be a real star last year. That was a real wow factor in the Winter Racing Festival. I think we were all asked to pick our highlights of the year. And by the time it got to me, the first one I said was Droopy's Mandolin, but I think you already had a pick the night she beat Ratdale Molly. That was a massive run that night. So look, yeah, 28:05. You can probably correct me, the Jimmy McGee of Greyhound Racing, but I think that's probably the fastest time in there of the year.
Yeah, I believe it probably is, to be honest. I'll check. Jason, Droopy's Mandolin, we know how classy she is. She's now 13 wins from 18 starts. She's even come to the UK once, for an Oaks Challenge. She was unlucky, knocked out of that competition, but here she is again, and she's going to be favoured in the Oaks final. But as we said, she had to be on her toes. Droopy's Adele. Even the fact that she increased her lead down the back straight on Droopy's Adele is highlight of how good she is, because Droopy's Adele, the one thing she does is she absolutely motors from 2 to 3. And we said this in the opening round, for Droopy's Mandolin to stretch away from Droopy's Adele to the third bend again. It's just a measure of just how brilliant she is. But as I've said, Droopy's Adele and Droopy's Fidget really did keep her honest. Like, Droopy's Fidget, select stakes winner. She's beaten a length and a half and a head. She's not out of it in the final, but again, 3 exceptionally talented ladies.
Yeah, I hope Droopy's Mandolin. I think Droopy's Mandolin is about 2 or 3 lengths quicker than anything else in the final. But it's not a lot of margin for error. She's got trap 1 the other night. She's not a railer. She's more of a middle runner. But the way the race was set up, if she was in 1, she could just move out and probably impede the others and get the run. She was, to say she was flat-footed down the back straight, she was coming away at the end. But there's such great dogs in with her. They were probably doing her for a bit of toe down the back, and then she just pulled away again. It's a very interesting final, quite wide open. Like I say, the trap 1 is going to be the big outsider, but after that, it's class.
The 3 that didn't qualify there, Epic Chick, like she was banged there off the second bend, but again, like, she's on the outside of Droopy's Adele and Droopy's Fidget. That's not where you want to be, against those two ladies.
She's talking 28:30 and she can't qualify, That's
I know, incredible. Yeah, that's it. It really is. Born to Perform, Carol Glady. This was one of those races where it could quickly get away from them, and that's what happened. They didn't get the start. Obviously Droopy's Mandolin moves into trap 2 to trap 2.5 even, just leaves Born to Perform any sort of shorter room. She's never really getting involved. And Carol Glady, well, we knew what she had to do. She had to explode from boxes, but she hasn't exploded from boxes at Shelbourne Park. And once she didn't lead, she was always going to be in serious danger. And as I've said, there was such quality out front that it never really left it open. It never left it open for anything out of the back. And yeah, the 3 to progress were Droopy's Mandolin, Droopy's Adele, and Droopy's Fidget. Let's move on to the second semi-final. Jason, we'll start with you here. Lucky Julie had flashed out in the second round, did a 2:05, 28:28 last week, missed the kick, absolutely hammered down the back straight. She's only narrowly beaten for second spot after really catching the eye. But the other night, again, she was back to her sort of better starting ways. She didn't do a 2:05, she did a 2:08, but it was enough for her just to get that little bit of room. She edged in ever so slightly into the corner. Short Grip tried to arrive with a rush onto the bend. They all took a bump, but Lucky Julie largely escaped it. Once she went to the front, that was that. She went on to win by 11 lengths. Now, Short Grip was sort of third into the back. She went second. And then, whatever happened between the last 2 bends, she certainly seemed to be clear of Flasserade. She seemed to lose her stride for a moment, whether she took a false step or, I'm hoping she didn't feel something. I'm assuming it was a false step. She tried to get going again, but she couldn't pick up Flasserade. Obviously, it's 11 lengths back to them. It was all about a Lucky Julie, but definitely, Just a slight question mark about how Short Grip is going forward into the final. If you were told to she's fine, it wasn't a bother, and it was just a false step, you wouldn't be too concerned. She's still a big player, but it's just a worry, Jason.
Well, short in the terms of Short Grip, she's not going to the bend as hard as she can, or she's not trapping.
Yeah.
You know, when she ran in the juvenile back in what was it, last autumn, she was absolutely bombing to the bend, cutting across them, but she just doesn't seem to be in the same form. Having said that, she won the Limerick Oaks a few weeks ago, and she caught 28.33 in one of the earlier rounds. But for me, that's just maybe a couple of lengths short of a best, but the best may be yet to come.
Yeah, this bitch, as you say, like this bitch does 28 seconds, you know, exactly. Albeit in defeat behind Droopy's Flightline in the Juvenile Derby, but it was a stunning run that night. We haven't quite seen that from her.
No, she's just been maybe 2 or 3 lengths short, but you know, in the final, if she bombs out the traps, you know, she's there with a major chance. But a lucky Julie, I mean, she ran brilliant in Waterford in the Select Stakes, and she's crying out for 550 yards. When she leads, she wins, you know, and when she trapped out the other night, it was good night Vienna. That was it, all over. And if she traps out like that again in the final, she's a major chance because all those on the inside could come together and she'll shoot around the outside and win as she likes.
You don't need to be a genius on the clock to realize that, you know, a lot of her time is done from the third bend. That's how strong she is. Like she's doing 16-16 to the third bend the other night. That means she's coming home in 12:04. Barry, you know, 12:04 coming home from that third bend. Like that's absolutely lightning quick coming home. You know, that's where her strength generally is. But as we said, she is still capable of going up fast enough to hold her pitch around that opening corner. And if doing so, she's certainly a big player.
Yeah, early on in her career, she didn't show like that sort of early pace, and she wasn't known as a great trapper. And was it 3 weeks ago when she came out, she beat Short Grip and she done, I think it was a 2:05. You said she done. You were sort of going, that was a flash in the pan, and then the following week she came out and she done 2:22, and you're sort of going, yeah, that's more her style of breaking. But look, again, last week she was electric, and perhaps 2:08 is not bad at all, and 2:08, 2:05. If she's doing those sort of sections, which she will need to do, let's be honest, you're not going to give the Droopies Mandolins and Droopies Adels 4 or 5 lengths and pick them up, no matter what you're doing from the third bed home. But she will need to do something similar. Look, she's probably got a good draw out in 6. She was always going to get it as the sole wide seed, and look, Short Grip is a middle seed, but she was doing all her good running from the inside, I suppose, last year. But she did drift wide off the corner. But there is a chance for a bit of trouble on the inside. There's not a lot to separate some of them on the clock, and I think therein lies our chance because, look, I think our best you can probably do is 2:05. 2:05 is probably going to be good enough to see you going up maybe third on the outside here in this, isn't it? And that's if she does her very best. And then, look, as I say, she can't afford to give the likes of Droopy's Mandolin or any of them too much rope. But yeah, you mentioned 12:04. She does rattle home from the third bend. I was impressed with her last weekend, not the weekend previous, sorry, in the quarterfinals. She was maybe 4 or 5 lengths off Chelsea Pat going into the third bend, and Chelsea Pat has form over 750, and she just breezed past her around the bottom bends and ran on well. I think you were getting a bit excited in commentary because you could see she was absolutely thundering home. So look, it's a different kettle of fish trying to come from behind bitches like Droopy's Mandolin, but yeah, her chance lies in she will have to do one of those 2:05, 2:08s, which look, she's done it twice in the last 3 weeks. She's definitely improved her starting in the last couple of weeks as well. So therein lies her chance. Short Grip, yeah, I agree what Jason says. I think she broke 2:10 8 times in a row in Shelbourne Park in the Juvenile Derby, and she hasn't broken it in the last 2 weeks. She has to break 2:10. She has to maybe do a 2:02, 2:03 to lead up some of those runners on the inside. I think she's got a tricky draw, but look, yeah, if you paused the race halfway on the back straight last week, you'd think she was a certainty for second, probably a little bit disappointing. I know she met trouble at the first bend, but you'd still think she was capable of going quicker than 29 seconds. But look, we know she has it in the book. She's done it before around the track as well, so you can't write her off. And Flash Array ran really well to outrun her big odds. But yeah, look, you couldn't write any of the 3 of them off. I suppose the 3 of them will need luck, if I'm honest. I'm just not sure about the draw for Short Grip, trying to clear those early paces on her inside. And a lucky Julie, she will need to come out in her best fashion.
Yeah, we haven't really mentioned much of Flash Array. Jason, you always have one that sort of sneaks in at a big price. It's no surprise that this is one of them, because while she hasn't been doing massive clocks at the finish, she's absolutely flown to the third bend 2 or 3 nights, and she's shown real guts and determination. I speak particularly about the quarter-final run where she was sort of She led early. She was challenging to the third bend. She was headed, but she drove the third bend again to go back to the front, and that was the success. That was the key to her qualifying to the semi-finals. No surprise to see her running well again the other evening. And while she does have plenty on her, she's a big task ahead of her, is what I'm saying. She's going to be a huge price. She could certainly have a say in this, Oaks, just given the fact that she can fly up the inside.
Well, she's 28.52 done, and she won a few races in Kilkenny before she came to the Oaks. She's led in every round bar one and got beaten. So she needs luck in running, basically. But Connections will be delighted to get to the final. Before the competition started, I don't think any of them in the wildest dreams would have thought she'd have got to the final. But, she's done really well.
Does she have probably not as high profile, but she's a similar sort of a profile as Raha Mofo for the same trainer, like no star in her youth and no star earlier on in her career, but she's gradually come along for the same man. So can lightning strike twice? You never know. He knows how to do it, Morty.
A very different racing style. Very different racing style. Let's look at the final. Obviously, the Flash is it Flasarade or Flasaroija? I haven't confirmed it yet. I assume it's probably Saroija, but my Irish isn't great, Barry. I don't know about yours. Jason, how's your Irish?
Even worse.
Droopy's Fidget is in 2, Droopy's Mandel in 3, Droopy's Adele in 4, Short Grip in 5, and 6 is a Lucky Julie. Just before we get into the final itself, just from breeding point of view, obviously the Droopy's prefix has been hugely prevalent for many, many, many years. To have these 3 fast ladies out of 3 different bitches, 3 different sires, it's some achievement. Go ahead, Jason.
Sorry, Jason.
Oh, well, it's just a production line down in Port Law, isn't it, from the Dumfries, and Droopy's Hunt, she was useful on the track. I'm not sure about Curio, but she's just a breeding machine. They're very, very professional. I've been for years, and keep getting the results.
Curio is probably the fastest of all the dams. She broke a track record in Newbridge on her debut.
Yeah,
she was expected to probably win the unraced stake down at Newbridge. Herself and Unlock were the 2 stars of that competition, and it was called off the latter stages of it due to a certain COVID-19. She reached an Oaks final, I believe. Droopy's Curio, she may well have been 3rd. Obviously Droopy's Hunch, I think she got to a final of a juvenile derby. I think she's a sister to Broadstrand Bono. Could be wrong there now. I think she's out of Droopy's Blossom. I think she's a sister to Broadstrand Bono. Droopy's Natalia, of course. Droopy's Fidget is a litter sister to Droopy's Clue, who was the UK Greyhound of the Year last year, and an absolute monster, just an galloping machine. And you could see similarities in herself and himself with the fact of the colouring and just the way they run. They're both decent starters, but when they get into stride, they just really go. And they're 3 very talented members of the Droopy's sort of alumni. Let's look at the final itself, Jason. I think we're all of the belief, and we know, in fact, now I've seen the prices, Droopy's Mandolin will be a relatively short price favourite. Had she been in 1, I think she may well have been odds on, but she's not in 1. She's in 3. There is a bit of 11 to 8 available. I think she'll settle around probably closer to even money 11 to 10 on the night. But as you said, that 2 or 3 lengths isn't a huge margin for error. Like, that can be lost in one stride. She'll need to be doing things right.
She has to come away. Because, I mean, the inside dog, Flare Sarade, that goes up hard into the bend. Droopy's Fidget is probably weaknesses the first 100 yards, but she's no slow coach to the bend. And then you've got Droopy's Edel wants the inside. Will go in a fairly straight line to the bend and then chops across. So there's very, very little margin for error.
Barry?
Yeah, I can't see her going off as short as 11 to 8 on the night. As a bookmaker, if you're laying them, you've got plenty of live ones in there to take her on with. And as Jason rightly said, although Droopy's Fidget wouldn't be known for her flying early pace, she has done up well the last couple of weeks. I thought she went up well in the quarterfinal. I'm just looking at it there, 2:13. It looked a little bit quicker than me for me that night, 2:13. 2:04 again last week, went on the outside of Droopy's Mandolin. Look, Mandolin she's a real star. 12 wins from 17 races, you can see there on her card, and another one over in the UK as well. But as Jason says, she has to do everything right. Like the winner of this race has to do a 2:03 or a 2:02. You simply have to do it, because if you turn second, you're going to be turning second behind a superstar. You're going to be turning second behind something that can do 28:20. So look, I know it's a very obvious statement, but I think whatever leads going to take a huge amount of beating. And look, would you take 6-4 about Droopy's Mandolin just to lead these up? She is the most likely winner. I wouldn't be having a bet in the race at 6-4. I think she'll go off a little bit bigger because there's going to be support for others in there. You can't write off Short Grip point in last week. Droopy's a dead on the cracker last week, went behind Droopy's Mandolin. And look, if Lasseray can go up well, so too can Droopy's Fidget. You can't do any of them out. I'm not just saying that to try and keep everybody interested and go, you all have a chance, but they do. And Oaks Finals have a habit of throwing up a surprise or two. I think Pat Gilfoyle's Bitch Magical, what was her name? She won it. Oh no, Miss Firecracker.
Miss Firecracker.
She won it at 10-1.
You're going back a long time now, Barry.
Yeah, and then even further than Pastry Girl from Mick O'Reilly, who went close at about 33-1 or 50-1 one year. She finished second.
33-1, yeah, she was second.
Yeah, so it can throw up a surprise or two. But Droopy's Mandolin for me is the most likely winner. Will I be having a bet at 6-4? I won't.
No. You're not a 6-4 man. You're looking for more of a 6 or 8-1 chance generally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jason, if you were investing some of your hard-earned euros, hard-earned pounds where you are, what would it be on?
Well, I think the bookies will be out to get Mandolin because it's such a competitive race. But the other thing is, where was she for 5 months? Was she in season? How many weeks out of season is she? Is she only just 16, 18 weeks and going to improve? Who knows? No, it's not unusually in Britain. They put season dates down. What some people do. In Ireland, it's a guessing game. But she might just be coming.
I think it's safe to say it's a guessing game in the UK too. That's the issue.
Sometimes. But is she bang on out of season next week? And if she is, she might find another couple of lengths. So she is the most obvious winner, but she's no certainty.
If the track allowed, and I told you it was going to be 1 in 27.90, you'd be having your 100 on Droopy's Mandolin because she is the one that's more than capable of doing it any probably night of the week if she puts her best foot forward.
Probably the only one capable of doing it.
Yeah. No, that is fair. They've all had a fair few cracks at it. Droopy's Mandolin obviously has 28.05 in her card. She's not the fastest finalist. Short Grip has done the 28 seconds that night in the Juvenile Derby, but I think we'll all agree that she's just not quite there yet. But who's to say? Who's to say? She's been very lightly raced this year. There's still a big run in her. Again, just my concern about what happened between the third and fourth bends the other evening. If it was a case that she just hit a bit of post ground or she took a false step, fair enough. Otherwise, if she was feeling something, well, then that is a concern. I'm sure that will come out if that was the case. But it's a wonderful Oaks final. It really is a wonderful Oaks final. I think it's 3 votes for Droopy's Mandolin, but I think we're all in agreement that she just needs to be doing things right. Importantly, in those first 5 strides, that's the key to the race, Jason. I think it's safe to say.
Well, no margin for error, but the best drawn in the race is the bottom, a Lucky Julie. She is the best drawn by a mile. Any problems, she's round the outside.
Yeah. Barry?
Yeah, look, I agree. She's got a crack and draw because I don't think Short Grip is a proper middle seed. But if you see her inside, you could get one and she'll come straight off from that. So look, be Droopy's Mandolin for me, but I'll just take a watch and brief and hopefully the best bitch comes out on top and they all go on to bigger and better things for the rest of the year.
Just from the draw, I have a feeling that Droopy's Fidget probably will represent a little bit of value. I think she'll make the frame. Just given the fact that if Droopy's Man, comes away reasonably well, if Droopy's Fidget can come away every bit as fast as her, and just given the fact she has the inside line of Droopy's Mandolin, who probably won't edge in, Droopy's Adele will look to get to the fence at some point. She's going to really struggle to get around Droopy's Mandolin, no question about it. Short Grip can fly up. If let's say if she'd been a bit unlucky in defeat the other night and she's beaten 3 lengths in 28.20, having found a little bit of traffic in the slow start, I'd be giving her a real life. Just that nagging feeling about what happened between the last 2 bends. And a Lucky Julie, I just feel that she needs to do every bit as fast as she did in the second round at 2:05 to turn close enough. Oaks finals, yes, there have been cases, and in recent times Rahamolfo, but I don't think this is a final where something's going to come from too far off the pace, if at all. And whatever gets the corner, I think, is the most likely winner. I think that's that's stating the obvious, as we say, but I think that's the way it is. But my heartiest congratulations to everybody who has the finalist in the Sporting Press Online Edition Irish Oaks. Robert Gleeson to have 2 there and 2 big players in the final is a huge achievement. Ian Riley, Jerry Melia, Pat Kokeman, and of course Mert Lahey and the Lahey Ladies Syndicate. They are living their best life at the moment. They have a cracky little bitch, whether she wins, loses, or draws. She's only in April 22, and they can really look forward to having a bit of sport with Flas Roger going forward. But a cracking Oaks final, I think we'll all agree. And again, the best of luck to all connected to these 6 finalists on Saturday night at Shelbourne Park. Now, let's just brush up on some of the action on the undercard at Shelbourne Park. And I say undercard, the feature race, in fact, given the fact it was worth €10,000, was the Resets Open 525. Jason, there's only one night to do it right, and that's in the final. Miami King had the draw on the fence, and I suppose once holding his pitch into the opening corner, it was a case of good night, Irene. He leads by length and a half into the back straight. What does he win? 10? It was just an absolute rout. Great work by Gary Dempsey for bringing this dog back to this type of form. He wins in 10 by 10 lengths, in 28-23. Great to see, a man like Tony Howard and of course Dave Lawrence, who does so much for the sport in the UK. It's great to see them have a dog of this quality and caliber, and they can look forward to some bigger targets later in the year.
Oh, definitely. And it's good to see Dave Lawrence put so much into dogs. He has some good dogs and shares in a lot of dogs. Bomb Out Bullet in Britain, national sprint winner. So it's nice to see him have a bit of luck. And this dog, obviously they're looking at the Irish Derby for him, at the end of the year.
Yeah, I suspect Tony and Dave are the figureheads. I don't think they run with a syndicate name, but I have a feeling there could be about 10 in behind these. They do buy 2 or 3 dogs every year, and there seems to be a bit of a syndicate going. And yeah, look, Miami King. Just Barry, this was over early. On the opening corner, given the fact it was Abyside Spice turning second, we know how good she is, but she has to set the pace. And when she turned second, even then, Miami King was even more of a certainty. Now, as it was, we know he stays 550 yards very strongly. So when he got on the bunny, it was a case of by how far rather than, would he win?
Yeah, he's 29.50 for the 550 around there last year, and I think he clocked 18.40 for a sprint in there as well. So he's a dog with a huge engine, but yeah, the early pace in that race, you had Bunkers and Yonkers, you had Abyside Spice, who's been flying up on Carol's dog as well, who can go up Kapuka Warrior. So, look, you weren't thinking he was going to turn in front. Absolutely not. You know the way, even though he has got good early pace in his day, they're real proper 525 dogs, those 3 that I just mentioned there. And look, he came out well and held his line. And as you say, Abyside Spice turning second, it was all over. But to go on and win by 10 lengths, clocking 28-20, that's up there with his best ever runs. As I say, I was surprised to see him lead. I thought the lead was between obviously the 2, 3, and 4, but yeah, as I say, once he led, but he's a high class dog. We mentioned it already. He's 29.59 for the 550 around there. So yeah, it was a real rout and a very nice pot to win as well, isn't it?
Certainly was a very nice pot. €10,000 for it's effectively a mini open. It's AO dogs, so obviously it was open to back raters because the likes of Miami King, as you said, 29.50 on his card. But no, it's a tremendous prize for mini open dogs. But these are mini open dogs that can certainly compete at the very, very highest level. And I'd expect to see Miami King back at Shelbourne Park in the very near future. Who knows? They might throw him into something like the Champion Stakes or the Champion Plate or something like that. This was a dog that when he came to Shelbourne Park was very much a wide seed. I liked him from the outside. He tended to show a nice bit of early on the outside, was getting around the corner, doing things right. But just they obviously felt maybe nowadays when he's up against a really hot company that he's more of a chance to go around in front from an inside draw. And looking at him the other night, he didn't move off or anything like it. He stayed to defence. So, it's good to see he's an intelligent greyhound. Let's move on from Shelbourne Park. There were a couple of fine runs on the undercard. And you want to mention, Barry, you were there. Of course, actually, do you know what? We will mention one thing. Jason, I don't know if you were aware, but Barry is the face of BetDAC. I think they could have gone with a better face, if you don't mind me saying. Now, he's a good voice for BetDAC. But on Saturday night, they donated €15,000 to the Irish Retired Greyhound Trust. It was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful gesture for a great cause. The IRGT do some tremendous work, Barry. And I'd say, just given the fact that you're a man on the ground, you're a man that always has a dog or two about you, yourself and your father. It must have been a very warm feeling inside when you were handing that check over.
Yeah, it was great. It was really nice of BetDAC to do it, and I was delighted to be able to represent them on the night and present it. And look, I know the work firsthand that the IRGT do. They really do. They put in an awful lot of work, home the greyhounds, and the improvements they've made in the last 5-6 years are tenfold. They really are. And yeah, Brenda was delighted. Brenda and Paul were delighted when I first broke the news to them a few weeks back. And look, yourself, you see what a hit those retired dogs are when people come to the
Amazing.
stadium.
It's amazing how many
it's
people stop and meet them and
Yeah,
whatnot.
photographs and pictures, and you might see kids coming in, young kids, 5, 6 years of age, and are a bit standoffish, and within 2 minutes they're nearly on their back taking photographs and selfies and the whole lot. So they do tremendous work, and yeah, I'm delighted that we were able to reward them, and I'm sure that'll go a long way towards helping.
It's a huge issue in greyhound racing, Jason. We've got to spread the word that greyhounds make the most wonderful pets. I think that word is getting out there, but there's still loads of homes needed for these dogs. A huge issue in the UK, of course, at present. But donations like this from obviously big companies, it makes a big difference.
Oh, it does make a big difference. One of the biggest problems in greyhound racing in Britain at the minute is the amount of retired greyhounds in trainers' kennels, and they can't replenish their stocks because they've got nowhere to put the new stock. So obviously, getting the word out that greyhounds make great pets, and they do make great pets. I was working in a house the other day, and this lady got 2 greyhounds, more friendlier dogs you couldn't meet. And it's just about getting the message out.
Yeah, it's very much so. No, but no, great work from Betdaq. Well done to all involved. €15,000. It's a sizable sum of change. Like there's a lot of buckets need shaking to get €15,000 in the door. I can promise you.
Well, I asked for them for the donation in cash, but I think they know me too well.
One for you, one for me, was it?
7,500. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, no comment. No, some great racing at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, no question about it. Some fine runs again on the undercard, but we have so much to get through. I think we'll move on. I'm going to start with the Race of Champions down at Tralee. €15,000 for a 2-run event, Jason. It's not to be sniffed at.
It's not. It's just it's very poorly placed in the calendar. If they want the best, the real Race of Champions, have it a month later. I mean, they've got the Derby at the end of the year and blank weekends. Why not have it later in the year? I cannot.
This was definitely one of those years where it could have been moved, as you say, after the Champion Stakes, between that and maybe one of the classics, be it Cork or Limerick. But at the same time, still got a good entry and a standout star in the semi-finals, Dashing Toro. I have to say, it didn't look like he was doing the run, when he was sort of struggling to get to the front. But when he did get to the front, he really did race on clear. The ground he put in between himself and Goulavani Otto was very emphatic from the third bend home. He's a very, very strong running greyhound, this Dashing Toro. I think he just backs up the claim that this year's Lee Strand 550 was perhaps one of the best we've seen. But it was a breathtaking run. Certainly from halfway, it was a breathtaking run.
And Goulavani Otto was he a 1-length runner-up in the Juvenile Classic, and he ran away from him. So and for a dog to come from behind and do 29.20 in Tralee, it was an amazing run.
Yeah, he's a very fast greyhound, Barry. He's sort of he was a little bit under the radar in terms of he'd been running in the Lee Strand. Yes, it's an 8-3 competition, but I don't think anyone claims it to be an 8-3 competition. It's one of those where your dog sprints for a couple of runs. You have enough on their card just to throw them in it, and all of a sudden everything takes off. And Dashing Toro was one of a number of dogs that took off. Indeed, the dog that was behind him, in third in the Lee Strand, Deadly Choice, was a real eye catcher at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, highlighting the strength of that contest. But I think he did plenty to highlight the strength himself the other evening, winning by 4 lengths in 29.20, a new track record. It was just a massive run. He had a classic winner behind him, of course, High Trend, Laurel's champion, back in third.
Yeah, look, when you see track records being broken, 99% of the time the comments are quickly away, always led. You very, very rarely see a dog heading down the back straight in third place and breaking a track record. So I only seen this video this morning, and when I seen it, I was like, wow, he's only third going into the bend and has to pick his way through a couple of rivals. So he obviously lost a length and a half maybe in the run. And Jason already touched on it. For a dog like Goulavani Otto, who I'm a big fan of, we've seen what power he has from the third bend, to run away from him, as Jason said, and win by 4 lengths. It was a huge performance. He's still very lightly raced. I think that's only maybe his 6th or 7th race. He's a great one with a huge, huge future. And look, I know we don't want to say it too early, but on his running style, he looks like he will be suited to a more galloping track around Shelbourne Park. And with that sort of power, look, the word is his oyster. 29.20 is a huge, huge run. And as you mentioned, High Trend, who I'm a big fan of in behind, Ballymac Dapper's been there and done it. So too was Sonia and Grande. He's ran well in a derby before as well. And Goulavani Otto, I'm sure he's going to improve as well as the year goes on. But you had to be taken by Dashing Toro. And if you can improve his starting, sky's the limit. But a really good performance.
Yeah, High Trend was back in third. I don't think quite produce his best. I just think he's a little bit off it at the moment. He obviously went out of the English Derby with a bit of a whimper last week, and then on a Friday night runs third. He didn't quite hold his pitcher on the opening two bends. Sonia and Grande actually went around him to lead into the back straight, and he just couldn't get home. Two very strong runners coming through to finish first and second. Dashing Toro and Kulavani Otto. High Trend, the third qualifier. The opening heat saw Our Cracker, a dog who came in for sustained support ahead of the English Derby. He was desperately unlucky in the opening round of the English Derby. He was going to do a hell of a run. In the end, that was a race won by Deladi Da, but Our Cracker, obviously very well thought of at home. He's been, he's very lightly raced, but he's shown some real promise in both the Juvenile Classic and the early rounds of the Kirby Memorial. A very fast greyhound, so no surprise to see him coming out on top, Barry. 9-4, second favourite. Delro Duke just didn't happen for him on the inside. He got a bit of crowding on the opening bend. He is a dog who, when he gets on the bunny, is very hard to beat, but just not getting on the bunny enough these days, perhaps.
Delro Duke, yeah, he's my cliff dog. He really is. I thought he was exceptional in a couple of races around Shelbourne Park at the back end of last year. I really thought he'd go places this year. Look, he obviously still has the ability there. He seems to go off very, very short. He owes me a few quid at this stage, but hopefully they can get him back to something like his best. Earl Cracker, yeah, I was doing a bit on the English Greyhound Derby sort of circuit and previews and stuff like that, and he was very, very well mentioned by numerous people. And again, impressive. Didn't fly out, showed good early pace and good determination around the opening bends, and goes on to win well. 3.5 length winner over Extra Gain. I think he would have really well at a big price back in second place. And Ballymac, well, what could we say about her? Every time you turn on a big event, semi-final, final, she always seems to be thereabouts. She's a really, really classy bitch. Real never say die attitude. But yeah, our Cracker, it's going to be a cracking final, isn't it? Because is there that much early pace in it? I know we've got some really, really classy dogs in it, but our Cracker could just be the one to nip around in front. And look, I know he's got a bit to find on the clock, but he did lose a couple of lengths, and it's all about being out in front. So yeah, it could be an interesting final.
Yeah, I spoke to a man yesterday. Dashing Toro has been installed favourite, but he'll still want to be doing everything right from an outside draw. Like, he has the likes of Our Cracker, High Trend, Kulavani Otto, and then the inside runners, Extra Gain and Ballymac Run on his inside to contend with. It'll be very interesting to see how close he can turn from trap 6. Obviously, he's very fast and he loves Tralee. There's no question about that. But yeah, if let's say Our Cracker or High Trend got loose on the bunny and they were doing a 29, 30 or 40 out front, it's going to be very hard to pick them up in that sort of run, Jason.
Oh, definitely. But I mean, High Trend is poorly drawn in 4. Caul and Otto is poorly drawn in 5. You think the Red Sea's going to open for him on the run up, and he'll just nip round the outside. If Pat's dog doesn't get too far in front, he should catch them.
Yeah. Easier said than done. Pick up a dog capable of doing the type of runs Our Cracker is. I think he's certainly capable of doing faster than the semi-final run, but it's an intriguing final. And again, that's the feature at Tralee next Friday evening in the Race of Champions. Best of luck to all involved. Let's touch on the Produce Stakes, gentlemen. We have a lot to get through here today. The Produce Stakes continued at Clonmel last evening. I was out and about, so I didn't get to watch it live, but some big runs as you'd expect once again. Fastest of the heat winners was Silverhill Adam in the final heat. This fellow's very strong. He's a real sort of 550, 575 yard greyhound. But he managed from the inside draw to probably show more early speed than he has done in recent times, to slip around second behind Romeo Taylor, who is all about early speed. He got off the front the other evening, but I think his goose was cooked when his kennel companion Silverhill Adam turned in second. Silverhill Adam absolutely powering home to land the spoils, Jason. Romeo Taylor and Silverhill Adam, very different racing styles, but I think both can be a player in this Produce Stakes.
Oh, definitely. Romeo Taylor's by far the best dog to halfway in the competition when he comes away. And Clonmel, you can leave a bit of trouble behind. It's a short run in. But last night, Silverhill Adam had got him by the third bend, checked up, lost maybe a length in running, and still beat him. So, and he's very young, that Silverhill Adam. So, I think he's got an awkward draw next week in trap 4, but I think he's a progressive type and can come through successful.
Yeah, Barry. I think Jason summed it up perfectly there. Like, Silverhill Adam is young. He's still only was he in August? Eugene Buckley always has a fast dog around him. Obviously he tends to send his best to Graham Holland, and this fellow, he really did catch the eye a couple of nights in the Juvenile Classic, but was still a maiden into his 6th start. He finally won a race at Shelbourne Park. That's only a second victory the other evening, but I think it's safe to say the penny is dropping. There's a big engine there. But I would suggest that when the bookmakers do price it again, the Romeo Taylor may still well be favoured to win it outright.
Yeah, 100%. Silverhill had him. He was highly tried at the start of his career, and as you say, he won a race in maybe 6th or 7th go. That was the semi-final of the Champion 550, beat Miami Prince in that. So, sorry, Moraes Prince, but it was a good run. But yeah, if they were to run again next week, same draws, you still would back Romeo Taylor, wouldn't you? You'd like to be on the one that's going to be out in front. And the quick scan through this competition doesn't seem to be a huge amount of early pace. 2 to 5 Romeo Taylor, he was expensive to follow there at the weekend, but I still think he'd turn the tables again on Silverhill Adam with maybe a bigger lead and not being picked up by the third bend, I suppose. But yeah, Romeo Taylor for me is the one to take out with. But 1, 2, 3 for that for Graham Holland in that heat. So I'm sure he's not too bothered which way they finished.
He's certainly not. Yeah. Maybe Romeo Taylor might be better suited if there was a bit more early speed in the contest.
Yeah.
Because you don't want one of the real strong runners turning second, which is more likely when there's a lack of early speed around you. The opening heat went to Unanimous Panther. This is another one, Jason, that came out of the Lee Strand, just franking that form yet again.
Yeah, he managed to get an uncontested lead, and that was it. He won by a long, long way last night.
Yeah.
But next week he's got Romeo Kingpin on his inside and Romeo Taylor on his outside, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's what they call a bit of a squeezy draw. He'll want to be doing things right.
That's a Holland pincer movement.
Yeah. Not a man you want to be stuck between. He's very strong again. Like, he is a real 575-yard greyhound, 600-yard greyhound, and the fact that he led on the opening corner probably did come as a slight surprise to those involved with him. If you look at his form through the Lee Strand again, he didn't lead too often. He led once and did 29.47 for the 550. That was in the opening round, the Lee Strand, but all the other evenings he's sort of doing it sort of not quite just on the pace, but just off it. Yeah, there's no question. There's a big engine there, a fast greyhound. But as you said, he's got a very tricky draw between the Romeo boys in the next round. The other heats went to Clonmel. This is one for Kevin O'Brien. I know he thinks a lot of this fellow. He led early enough the other evening, took a bit of bumping. Clock isn't magnificent, but he has much faster on his card. He's still very young. He's only in October 22, Barry. So much to come from him, but he'll need to improve on the clock.
He will, yeah. But I said to you that there's not a lot of early pace in this competition. I'll probably be proved wrong in the long term, but if there is much, okay, his kennel companion Romeo Taylor is definitely one, but this dog, Clonmel, he does have a bit of early pace. And if you look at the section from last week, 279, that's by far and away the quickest of the round from last night, I suppose. I think the best was about 280 odd. So he definitely can go up well. I know he was picked up on that occasion, but he still clocked 28.66. He went back a little on the clock last week. But look, he's been quite lightly raced in recent weeks. So I'm sure there's more to come from him. And he'd definitely be one to be keeping on side, because I'd say he's got more early pace than most in this competition.
Yeah, messy enough type little contest. I know you're a fan of Romeo Falco as well, who was racing from 6. He suffered bad traffic on the opening corner. He is another one that can go up fast.
Yeah, he can. He's been around here on a couple of occasions. He's got more experience than most around here, but yeah, he can go up fast. I don't think he has the early pace of the others. I know he was tried in the sprint in Shelbourne, but yeah, I don't know. Look, he has good form on occasions, and he's a couple of stumble traps on his card as well.
I think it's the trapping boots are the issue rather than the early speed.
That's exactly it. Look at it, like, he has got that pace. When he came from behind, was it Robbie's Tiger in Shelbourne? He almost got up to beat him that night. He showed huge pace, but just the initial couple of yards is just catching him out. And I think you're looking at it going, he's got good sprint form, but the longer run to the bend there was suiting him. And this short-ish run to the bend here is just catching him out a bit. And I think his trapping is just his issue.
Yeah, there was real quality in Heat 3, Jason. It was only a 5-dog affair, but it went to Scooby Countess. We spoke briefly off air about this lady. She just seems to be coming back to something like the form she showed last year. Romeo Kingpin did lead, somewhat surprisingly picked up in the time. Green Brigade, who had gone so fast in the opening round, suffered early crowding after a slow start. That's going to be his issue. He just does lack a yard of early speed and will sort of need a run on the opening corner in good time, of course, who recently broke the track record at Tralee, was a good second. But Scooby Countess, 5-1. Hindsight's 2020 and all that, but she just does seem to be slowly coming back to her best. And after the couple of years that Jennifer O'Donnell's had, you certainly wouldn't be ruling her out.
28-20 around Shelbourne last October.
Yeah,
and she's won her last 2. She's on her way back. You
spoke about season dates earlier on. Like, this could be
another one.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a very talented lady, Barry. They didn't even enter her in the Oaks. That's a sign that, I think it was a case of if you're stuck, throw her in, and she came in as a reserve in the opening round and ran well. And she ran well then again in the next round. She was desperately lucky to go out in the Oaks, actually, the night she did. She should loads of boot down at the back straight. She sort of ran into a wall of dogs at the third bend. But yeah, the evidence is there that she's coming back to her best.
I think they've Steve and Jennifer been second in the last two Oaks. Is that correct? Probably
Yeah,
saying
Scooby Duchess, yeah.
let's not enter anything in the Oaks. That race is just not for us. But yeah, look, she was a finalist in the National Puppy Stake, I think, at the back end of last year. And yeah, just looking at her card, it's really obvious to see she's just coming on with each and every run. So look, could be a blessing in disguise being knocked out of the Oaks and going on to bigger and better things down here.
I think it's safe to say it's still quite an open produce stakes. There aren't too many you would completely ignore, Jason. Obviously, the early speed of Romeo Taylor could have a huge say in the outcome, but the likes of Romeo Kingpin, Unanimous Panther, Scooby Countess, the second heat, Silver Hill Adam in good time. There's still plenty of potential winners there.
There is, but I think Graham Holland's big odds on to win it.
I would say you're probably right there. Just given the weight of numbers, he's he's sort of continuing his love affair with Clonmel anyway. I don't think he has a love affair with most tracks, to be honest. Another track he has a love affair with is Toaster. We'll get to that in a moment. Produce Stakes. Best of luck again to anyone remaining in the Produce Stakes. Before we head across the pond, let's mention the Graders Derby, which started at Confined Derby, excuse me, which started at the weekend, Barry, Friday and Saturday night, and the old curse, 11 of them were knocked out for going too fast. I like the premise of the competition. I know you want your dogs to improve, and at the same time, the fastest heat winner won in 28:56 and was returned 5-2. Barry, as I said, you should be thrown out of the sport for that. It should be returned 1-3. But no, a good winner, the Drombeg, another one for young Evan McAuliffe doing 28:56. Typically, I have the Friday results open rather than Saturday results. He did it on the Saturday night, 28:56. One of 11 dogs that will not go through for breaking the time. 28:90 was the cutoff. Drombeg Pearl certainly broke that with a 28:56 return. Son of Grange U10 at a blast-off cat. He's a nice one for Evan McAuliffe going forward, but I'm afraid he'll play no more part in the hunt for the €20,000.
They should have ran a little side competition for any dog that done 28.90 you're into this $5,000 other competition. We must say that to Willie Rigney. But look, I can see what they're trying to do, and I admire them for trying something different. They tried something different in the Cesarewitch and Mullingar as well, didn't they? With all the heat winners going through. So it's something different. But look, when is the last time you've seen an A4 competition won in 29:30, 29:40? It's just unheard of, no matter what track it is around the country. So for that fella who does have the one or two dogs at home and has this dog that on a good night he might do 29:10, at least you got a chance of winning a big pot. Because if you have a dog that's only capable of doing 29:10, 29:20, and you're putting your work into him, and that's all you can do, you're never going to get a chance to win a big pot like this. And I think this is a chance. I know it's difficult on one hand to be cheering your dog on and he 4 in front off the last bend and you're going, whoa, he just whoa up a little bit. But look, I commend them for what they're doing. Maybe the 2 rounds of the 28:90 is probably, maybe they could have done 28:90 the first round, 28:80 the second round, but you're probably getting a little bit too technical there. But look, I hope it is won by a one man on this dog sort of a fella, you know what I mean? With his grade, or I don't want to see this Droopy Sydney or some star bitch coming out and winning it in 29:10. Nobody does this.
I have to tell you, Barry, a little bit of me would love to see something sneaking through third every round, doing 28-22 in the final. That sort of way. That's just the sort of the 1990s sort of child in me coming out to a 1980s child in me coming out going, like if you have enough in hand, show it.
I know. Show it when it matters.
Do we know, is it only 28:90 for the first 2 rounds?
I believe it's 28.90 for the first 2 rounds, and I seen a dog there quickly 28.88. The way when you're with the elections on, you'd be asking for a retime as well as a recount. The way. But look, I admire them for what they're trying to do. I can see what they're trying to do, and it is important that people with the one man and the dog are looked after. You don't want to be going into an A4 competition and the race won in 28.50, and you're bet 5 or 6 lengths, and all of a sudden you're A1, because that's very hard to take as a small owner trainer. You get beat and you go up 3 grades. So look, hopefully. Sorry to all the big trainers out there, but I'd love to see a one man and his dog win this sort of competition.
Yeah, Jason, It's a good sort of initiative. It does sort of promote as Barry said, the smaller man. There were a couple of 28.91 winners. I'll be keeping an eye on them.
Well, what I would have
Yes.
done, Ian, as a
Yeah.
previous racing manager, I'd have made the going plus 20, and you'd have got most of them back in it. I mean, Limerick. On certain nights, I'm sure the tarmac, Limerick and Tralee, because they're absolutely on fire, and then all they do is put sand. I mean, it's very for a grading system to be based on time and not have accurate going allowances. It's beggars to believe, really.
plus 40. Plus 40, we get the Drumbeg Pearl bitch back in
Exactly,
as
get
well.
it back.
Actually, no, plus 35 would have done fine. Do you know what I mean? We don't want to be too greedy either. No, listen, I understand you. A couple of 28.91s were done. That's certainly worth keeping in mind. Keep an eye on them going forward. Obviously, a lot of water to go under the bridge in the Time Greyhound Nutrition Confined Derby. A4 Derby, it's safe to say, it won't be won in an A4 time. There aren't too many A4 dogs left in the competition, but there are certainly no AAO dogs or AO dogs left in the competition either, because anyone that did too fast, out you go. They have one more round just to keep themselves sort of under the radar, and then all bets are off from the third round. Barry, is that what you reckon?
Handbrakes are down, and away we go.
I love it. It's a wonderful, wonderful prize, and as you said, Time Greyhound Nutrition are putting serious money into the sport, and it's a great initiative. And as you say, we hope it's won by a smaller man, shall we say, or a smaller woman, of course. But best of luck to all still involved in the Time Greyhound Nutrition A4 Derby at Limerick. Now, moving on. Saturday night, we saw Ireland progress to a point where we have the majority of the runners in the English Derby and Jason. But I think it was safe to say it was probably a night for the English. King Memphis obviously starred again. He's clear favourite now for outright glory, and Crafty Chavou was so fast in defeat. But I'm going to say, I think it's clear to all that we have the fastest dog in the Derby. I think the Laddie Da still a monster. Like he had to check his stride a couple of times behind the bitch. They're on the same racing line. For him to be beaten only ahead when she's doing 28.62, doing everything right, is just an indication of how extremely fast he is.
He is fast. He's definitely fast, but he's hit and miss at the traps.
Yes.
And if you get him drawn in the middle with early pace around him, as a bookmaker, you would fancy to get him beat. So, he's I think he's 5-1 second favourite now. King Memphis is 3 or 4-1 general favourite on the draw. He's got a great draw. Dilar, I think he's back in the middle again, isn't he?
He's back in trap 4, back in trap 4. He just seems to he can't shake off that trap 4 jacket. He did a 3.94. Obviously he couldn't contain Crafty Chavou into the opening corner. He's beaten only ahead. He's done 28.64. It was a hell of a run, but Crafty Chavou was a hell of a run. And a lady in form is a very dangerous thing.
And a previous Oaks winner, last year's Sporting Press Oaks winner.
Yeah.
And is she 8 out of 8 in Toaster? She's
9 out of 9.
9 out of 9 even.
9 out of
she
9.
loves the place, and she's got a great draw. She's got a middle draw, but for me, it's not a bad draw next week where she takes on Superfast Gordon and last year's winner Gaytime Nemo, along with another Irish runner, Groucho's Duke, who's just coming forward. So a very trappy contest, that one.
Yeah, from her point of view, she'll want to be getting on the bunny, because if Groucho's Duke hits it, he's already shown that he can really lay it down to some of the fastest ones. Was it him that came from behind her in the opening round to challenge it into the third bend, and she outstayed him then again up the home straight? Superfast Gordon checked his stride the other evening. Gaytime Nemo ran well in defeat. It's a hot contest, no question about it. Just looking through the remainder of the Irish runners, and the other Kobe was very impressive, Barry, in the opening heat of the night. He missed the kick, and after 5 strides, I thought, we're in trouble here. The other Kobe's going out. Clonmel Treaty led on the outside, but Kobe flew into the opening corner, led off the bend, and thereafter was all very impressive. 28.77 off that start. I know it's a 4.02, but he definitely left a length or two at traps. Like if he traps, he could certainly do a 3.90 if you're looking at that run the other evening.
Yeah, he's very impressive. And look, we all know how classy he is. Obviously, a former Irish Derby winner, but Clonmel Treaty absolutely flew the lids. And for the other Kobe, Clonmel Treaty usually does his best running from, say, the finish line to maybe the third bend. You know the way he's just not running that place as well. Some dogs take it, some dogs don't. You seen Ballymacfin last year, just didn't take it at all. And I think that's the sort of the case with Clonmel Treaty, because on all known Irish form, if Clonmel Treaty was to race past the stands in Shelbourne Park a length and a half clear of the other Kobe, there's no way he finished 4 or 5 lengths behind him, you know that way. But back to the other Kobe, he's just coming forward at every run. Okay, I know he might have maybe bounced or just went back a little bit in the second one over there for Graham, but he's taken to the place, which is huge. He's got massive early pace. He's not as mad for the rails as he was early on in his career. Remember, if he was drawn in 4 or 5 early on in his career, he'd be out and bang. I think he only goes left when there's room to go left. So he's got much more of a racing brain on him now. And yeah, you have to fear him. He's got to be high on anybody's list. I thought Hawkfield Blue ran really well too. He's a dog that went into that competition under the radar for me. He was high class over here in Ireland last year, and he's slowly coming back to form. He's not that heavily raced this year. I think he's been second twice now behind the other Kobe without really getting his starting right. And over here in Ireland, he was known as a way and gone merchant. But yeah, the other Kobe, he's done nothing wrong. I think he's unbeaten now over there in the 3 or 4 races he had since. So yeah, he's flying. Especially at his age, he's gone past 4 years of age. But as the saying says, there's life in the old dog yet.
Yeah, there's not huge mileage on the clock. The other Kobe, Jason, Tom's the Best is the only dog to do the double, not in the same year. The other Kobe's trying to do a reversal of it. Tom's the Best won the English Derby, then came over and won the Irish Derby. Kobe's looking to win the Irish Derby in the following year, come back and win the English Derby. It's certainly possible, certainly on the cards.
Oh, definitely. It's coming to the boil nicely. But has he taken to the traps? In Shelbourne, he goes ping, gone. In Toaster, he's doing it all from 15 yards on into the bend. You know, he's absolutely tearing into the bend, but he's not pinging the traps yet. That's the thing.
He did a very fast section the previous round. Was it a 392? I think he pinged that second night. But as you said, it's not every night.
Not every night. And, you know, I mean, he's a brilliant dog, great Irish Derby winner. Brilliant for Toaster, an early pace raider. You can't ask for more. But it's a very trappy race. Edward's got a bit of pace at the bend. Hawkfield Blues, good Shelbourne form. Droopy's Donut came good the other night, 28.93, and done super fast Gordon to the bend. So it's an interesting race, but you'd have to say that the other Kobe is the one who's coming forward and the one to beat.
Yeah, certainly from the Irish point of view. Just race through the Irish runners remaining. Superfast Gordon, Gate Time Nemo, Groucho's Duke, and the second quarterfinal has Ballymacgizmo, Ballymacfin, Hawkfield Abbey, and Balnabola Ed. Third quarterfinal, Hawkfield Blue, the other Kobe, Swords Rex, Ballymac Slick, and the last of the 4 quarterfinals has the Laddie Da and Boyle Sports Bob. Boyle Sports Bob, he looked like he was sort of out of contention, certainly at the opening corner. It looked like he was all over the place. It looked like a dog that had a couple of shots in the bar or something like that. But what he did from the third bend home to qualify was pretty remarkable. Obviously, he won't get away with that much more, Jason. He'll need to be sort of brushing up on his starting and find himself in a better position. But it was a remarkable run to even qualify.
Oh, it was. I mean, he looks a 6 bend dog in the making. But what he did against 4 bend dogs, just to qualify, you know, but he cannot afford them lapses at the start. If he can come out a couple of lengths behind at the first bend and just not get a bump, you know, he'll tear down the back straight. But he's just getting knocked out of contention and giving himself too much to do. But it's a serious runner on Thursday, on next week.
If I gave you a couple of free fiver bets, what would you be backing?
I think I'd bet Boyle Sports Bob to qualify for the final. You know, each way bet. Dilardidar, I mean, he's a very, very fast dog. It's just, you know, getting a draw and not being surrounded by early pace, I think, is the key to him. But the other Kobe's going well. King Memphis is going well. I mean, it's still open. It's still 3-4 to on the field.
Yeah. Barry?
Look, I've a decent anti-post book going. I backed Boyle Sports Bob at the start. A few quid last week on Groucho's Duke at 100s, although I didn't back him on Saturday night, as you know yourself. And Hawkfield Blue, I'm with him as well at the start. But it's so on the break over there, that Derby. You can see dogs doing 390 one week and the following week doing 412. And you're watching the traps every Saturday night, and you know something's just going to go ping. You know, absolutely fly out. And it's just very hard to predict what one it's going to be. The Laddie Da took an absolute flyer last week, but so too the Crafty Shavu. And can the Laddie Da do that sort of a run again? I think he went from 414 the week previous to 394, nearly 3 lengths in the difference in a week. Swords Rex, I think he's being it's a bit harsh on him. He's 4-1 to beat the other Kobe after just one defeat. You know what I mean? They've got very similar profiles. Both coming back from long layoffs. 8-11 the other Kobe, 4-1 Swords Rex, and we know he can go ping around there. And maybe he's got his defeat out of the way nice and early in this year's Derby. So
just
he's a bit of value.
If anyone's looking to back Swords Rex, I'd hold off till later in the week.
Yeah, you're a little bit disappointed with them. I suppose. Look, they're all
I
different. When they're not in front, they
the rumor mill has been doing a bit of a turn. So just hold off until later in the week. His price isn't going to
okay.
contract anyway, given the fact that he's subject to some rumors. So yeah, I wouldn't be back in Sword Direct just at this point in the week.
But
If he does
just to
return
touch
to his
to
best, he'll be
finish
there.
up
But
on Boyle Sports, Bob. Before that event started, he had a trial around there, and on his card, I think the section was 402 or 404. Like he's not done anything near that since, and he's shades of a priceless jet. And I'm sure they're hoping the Conquer Hullen was delayed a couple more weeks. Is he looking like deal type for that? I think that starts this weekend, does it? Or maybe
I'm not
next
sure, to be
weekend.
honest. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not
so
sure.
yeah, he looks an ideal type to go over 6 pence. But look, because a massive engine, we watched that race together on Saturday, and he was gone down the back straight, wasn't he? And then he just appears out of nowhere up the home straight to get up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very hard to nail one down. It's all on the night. We've seen it last year on the night with Gaytime Nemo. He just went paying when it mattered. And look, once you get to this stage, they're all well capable of doing a 28.70, 28.60 run.
It's safe to say any one of these sets of connections will take third place now the next 2 weeks. It's all about reaching that final on June 29th. But no, again, something I've said all day. Best of luck to anyone with a runner still in the competition. It's a cracking English Greyhound Derby. It's great to see the Irish with the superior numbers at 13 versus 11 going into the quarterfinals. But they're going to need to be doing things right because the UK Challenge did bare their teeth the other evening, and they're more than capable of doing so again. King Memphis is a true UK runner. Okay, owned by half owned by an Irishman, Brendan Keogh, but an English bred, born, reared, trained over in the UK, and he is deserving of his place at the top of the market. He's been fairly lucky with the draw, it has to be said now, apart from last weekend, and he made light work of the task. But who's to say he'll have to keep producing that, because I have no doubt that one or two of the Irish are still holding a little bit up their sleeve, shall we say. But no, a wonderful Star Sports TRC English Greyhound Derby. Best of luck to everyone still involved. That's it from us, gentlemen. We look forward to a wonderful final of the Sporting Press Online Edition Irish Oaks. I would like to put forward that they drop the online edition next year in the race title, because I much prefer the Sporting Press Oaks going forward. Just from a commentary point of view, it's easier to get out in those final few yards. Jason, perhaps you could have a word.
That's it. I have a lot of influence there, I'm sure.
No, it's a wonderful find to look forward to. We have a warm favourite in the form of Drew's Mandolin, but she'll want to be doing everything right. She got 3 votes from us. If that's not a concern for anyone looking to back her, I don't know what is. Anyway, my thanks yet again to Jason Craddock and to Barry Caul, the man who will be taking the microphone at Shelbourne Park at Saturday night for the Sporting Press Online Edition Irish Oaks. I'll be viewing it from sunny Portugal. Best of luck, Barry. Best of luck to everyone with the runner in the final. Again, thanks to Jason and to Barry. That's it, though, from us on this Monday evening. We will see you next week. Good evening, good luck, God bless.